Hello and welcome back to Lorcana Villain. My name is Baker, and today we're taking a look at some more card reveals from Into the Inklands. We are getting closer and closer to the release date, and since my last set of reviews, there have been a lot of cards that have dropped, and especially in the past 24 hours at time of recording. For that reason, because I've spent the week, I've been doing interviews with players, I've been trying to keep on track with deck lists, and just busy. So to make my life a million times easier, and because a lot of the cards we've had revealed over the last few days, we don't have, or at least I've not been able to find, very good quality images of them. So this video will look a little bit different to previous card review videos. I am using the website Lorcania, which will be linked down below, and we're just going to go through them like this. Shout out to Mushu Report, who also does a brilliant job of archiving all the cards. But theirs are in alphabetical order, or you can't set them to be in the order of release. So if I did that, I'd have to keep double checking. Wait, have I already reviewed this one? Whereas this is in release order, so it'll just be easier. But yeah, both sites will be linked down below. Hopefully you don't mind. Again, the images we've got at the moment aren't the highest quality. A lot of them we don't have English versions available yet, so this just hopefully makes it easier all around. But let's crack straight on. There are about 52 new cards to look at that I haven't done yet. So for that reason as well, this will probably be broken down into 2 videos. I'll probably get to 25 or something like that, because I don't want to go much over the 40-minute mark, and I don't want to feel like I'll have to rush, and I want to be able to have some fun, enjoy the cards, and yeah, like I'm not trying to just force rush content just to get it out. I want to feel like we took some time, so we'll break it up a little bit. So let's start off. We've got Iago, Pretty Polly, Storyborn Ally, 3-cost Inkable, 3/2, Evasive, Quest for 1. It is Ratigan's Henchman Fidget in Amethyst, which, as the Ratigan man, I really should have loyalty to Fidget. But who doesn't love Iago? Such a fantastic character, and look at this art. Happy for Zephyr. I'm sure they'll be pleased. I might have to play a split if I decide to play Evasives. 1 Iago, 1 Fidget, but yeah, love him. Next up, we got Cleansing Rainwater, 2-cost Inkable item, Ancient Power. Banish this item, remove up to 2 damage from each of your characters. So another card to remove damage. We've got some synergy with things like the Amber Rapunzel or Grand Puppy. This is like just a watered down version. Version of Hakuna Matata that we got in Chapter 1. Obviously, that's a song and this is an item. And inherently, we think of songs as being better because we can sing them, which 90% of the time is true. But obviously there's item synergy. Amber doesn't have tons of items at the moment. Obviously it's got Lantern, Dingle Hopper, Sleepy's Flute, Dragon's Gem, Ursha's Shell Necklace, and we're getting Heart of Atlantis. So yeah, if you ever want to pair like Amber with Sapphire to have additional items, then I don't expect this to be great, but anything can come out in niche situations just because it's an item or it's a song or just it has synergy with more powerful cards. So yeah, nothing much to say, but who knows, could come up. Next up, we've got Don Karnage, Pirate Prince. 5-cost Inkable, 4/4 with Evasive. Poor Tigger got power crept here. But he is a Tigger, and we it's only going to be a matter of time till we get that Tigger support. But obviously Don Karnage here is Villain, which personally we love to see and already has synergy with things like Diabolical Scheme. He's a pirate where there's a few cards that synergize there. So yeah, love to see it. He takes out the opposing Goofies from Ruby Chapter 1, which sees play. So yeah, that might be another reason that he ends up seeing play. Next up, we got Robin Hood, Daydream, a 6-cost Inkable, 4/5, quests for 4, revealed by the Illumiteers. If I know who revealed the card, I'll always mention. Sometimes I see a card like 3rd or 4th or 5th hand, and by that point I have no idea who revealed it. So I try and give credit where I can. But yeah, this one of the cards revealed by the Illumiteers, and makes sense because that is the art channel. They'll be linked down below. But they offer a lot more than art, but they're definitely the experts when it comes to art. And yeah, another card with the art done by John Lorin, who is a long-term illustrator and artist for Disney, gave us the Robin Hood in Chapter 1, and yeah, just another beautiful artwork. But yeah, he's a cheaper Mickey BLT, obviously without Evasive, but I don't think that really matters. I mean, Emerald inherently is tends to be aggro anyway. So by the time you get this down on turn 6, obviously you're like same as BLT, you need to survive the turn, but that final quest for 4 might be enough to just get you the game. And even if it's not and it's vulnerable, them challenging, yeah, it's going to suck to see Maui and a couple of other things, but if they really need to get rid of this with a 4-5 stat line, you might be taking out a couple of things in return. So yeah, who knows. Next up, one that I'm clearly very excited about is Queen of Hearts, Wonderland Empress. 3-cost inkable, 3/3, always here are my ways. Whenever this character quests, your other villain characters get +1 lore this turn. Oh, we cooking, mama! Yeah, love it. Really glad that this is in Amber as well, because obviously it means we can get back out the Hades that gets +1 lore for all our villains. So yeah, it's probably still not enough, but definitely something that I'm looking forward to play testing. If you play with Ruby, then you're also you have a shift target. Not that you generally probably want to give this up. Although, to be fair, you could quest this with a couple of other villains on the board. They get the +1, and then you could still shift into the other Queen of Hearts. I don't know why you would, but you could, and the ability would still be triggered because you've already done it. But yeah, really glad to see this card. Really cool. Obviously loves me some villain support, so I'm keen to get cooking with that. Next up, we've got a steel card, 1-cost inkable. Olympus would be that way. Love this being depicted in Lorcana. Such a great moment of the film. Your characters get +3 this turn while challenging a location. So challenger specifically for locations. So if locations end up being really, really, really good, then maybe this sees play. It's an action. So if decks, we start wanting to have more low-cost actions to synergize with cards that do well with those actions, then maybe this sees play if there's enough location cards to warrant it. It is inkable. There's a better location based card that we're going to look at now though immediately, which is Rise of the Titans. 3-cost inkable action, banish chosen location or item. I'm really glad this says location or item for a bit of diversity, because I don't think it's a stretch to imagine that I think there's only going to be a couple of inks that really benefit enough from locations in set 3, chapter 3 format, that they end up actually being played. And then depending on how common those decks are would determine how much you want to play the anti-location stuff. But because this is an item as well, I think there's good chances that even if there's not enough good location decks in next meta, then there's still likely to be good item stuff where like items have been good throughout Rise of the Floodborn format. They've been consistently good. So yeah, the fact that this is diverse and inkable, I absolutely think this sees play. Next up, we've got Scroop Backstabber, revealed by Googly Glimmers over on Twitter. You should absolutely go check them out. They have make fantastic posts. So simple, but so funny. But yeah, 5-cost inkable, 2/5, quest for 2, and brute. While this character has damage, he gets +3 strength. So immediately, like, we have the suit of cards. I can't remember the exact name of it. Card Soldiers, that's the one, which is 5-cost inkable, 5/5, and also quest for 2. So doesn't immediately fill me with much confidence, except for obviously villain and pirate keyword and alien as well. I don't think we've got anything that synergizes with aliens yet, but you never know. So yeah, I don't see this cropping up immediately, but in the future, who knows. Next up, the first of the actual Titans revealed by Live Laugh Lorcana, two girls that run a wonderful podcast. Their Twitter will be linked down below. Go show them some love. But yeah, first off, we've got Lithos, Rock Titan. 4-cost inkable, 4/1 with resist 2 and stone skin. Exert, chosen character gains resist +2 this turn. So this is interesting. Obviously having the resist 2 means that you're safe of the common spells that do, the common action songs that do 2 damage, like Let the Storm Rage On and Teeth and Ambitions. Smash will still get through this, but yeah, it gives him a bit more longevity. But I don't think that in itself would be enough. I mean, full strength, so it synergizes with weight set. But yeah, the stone skin being able to exert to give one of your characters resist 2 to make it easier. Like, maybe this has got some utility with challengers. But yeah, great to see the Titans nonetheless, although I'm not expecting this card in particular to shine straight away, but still, love the Titans. And moving straight on to another one, we've got Hydros, also revealed by the girls at Live Laugh Lorcana. 3-cost Inkable, 2/2, quest for 2, and Blizzard. Exert chosen character. So this is the same as Freeze on the first chapter, 3-cost Elsa. Obviously a lower stat line in return for questing for a bit more. Exerting characters is strong, but I think if you really wanted this, you'd probably prioritize the Elsa, because there's more. If you're running Amethyst, there's more chance that you're running the Floodborn Elsa anyway. So if you really wanted this, you'd probably play the Princess. But again, Titan characterization could become relevant at any point, so who knows. Next up, we've got Scrooge's top hat, revealed by LorcanaTalks. I know they were very glad to get themselves a DuckTales reveal. But yeah, obviously love this art. I'm a fan of a top hat myself. 2-cost uninkable item, Exert. You pay 1 less ink for the next item you play this turn. So it's the Lantern / Dr. Facilier's cards. It's the next one of those, but for items and in Sapphire. And yeah, Sapphire is the item deck. So we've looked at a few other cards that lower the cost of items. So combined, maybe we, again, our only high cost item really that we to talk about is Lucky Dime. Other than that, there's a few like 3 or 4 cost items. But again, sometimes that's fine. If you're playing enough of them, then maybe you get to a point where a couple of these or this plus something else, you're now only playing 1 or even nothing for your items. So who knows if item decks are good enough. It's uninkable, which hurts it a little bit, but it could pop up. Next up, we've got Bestow A Gift. Artwork appreciation to the moon. Another one revealed by the Illumiteers, rightfully so. Just stunning art. Look at this. Amethyst, 1-cost inkable. Move 1 damage counter from chosen character to chosen opposing character. So again, synergy with the cards we've mentioned, like Rapunzel and Puppy, that remove that benefit from damage being removed. But yeah, on its own, I wouldn't have been convinced that this would really be enough. But this is probably a good time to instantly zoom to one of the more recent reveals. Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, 5-cost inkable, sorcerer, storyborn villain, and 2 abilities. We've got Dark Knowledge. Whenever this character quests, you may draw a card. Drawing cards is king. And Divination. During your turn, whenever you draw a card, you may move 1 damage counter from a chosen character to a chosen opposing character. So same ability basically, but on the body. And this card in and of itself is really interesting. It seems strong. The draw built into questing is mostly good. Like, it reminds me of the Evil Queen from chapter 1, who had I think it was I summoned thee, exert to draw a card. And the benefit there was that you could re-ready it with things like Shield of Virtue or LeFou and keep doing it to draw more cards. This, most cards that we have that re-ready us state that we can't quest again for the rest of the turn, so it's unlikely at the moment that we'll be able to get multiple draws off of this a turn. But it creates a really interesting loop with the card we've mentioned a couple of times that benefits from damage counters being removed. Rapunzel, Gifted Artist. 0/6, quest for 2, shift 3, and let your power shine. Whenever you remove 1 or more damage from one of your characters, you may draw a card. So this endlessly loops as long as you have damage on your board to take off. You quest with Maleficent, which draws you a card, and you can set it off other ways by drawing cards through other means, like Friends on the Other Side or whatever. But at its simplest, you can quest with Rapunzel to immediately draw a card. That allows you to pop this ability whenever you draw a card, move 1 damage counter. So again, also on the assumption that you have a character on board that's got some damage on it, remove that damage counter to an opposing character. Then the Rapunzel reads that you have removed a damage counter and lets you draw a card. And because you have drawn a card, the Divination ability once again triggers, allowing you to move another damage counter. So you can do this constantly to remove all the damage on your board, and like, as long as you've got damage on your board and there is somewhere to put it, then you can do this endlessly. So that in itself is interesting, really interesting. And if that becomes a thing, then I would imagine that Bestow A Gift possibly works its way in just as an additional way of getting this off. Maybe you miss the Maleficent, but you have the Rapunzel on board, and this is just a cheap way to be able to draw more cards. I'm not certain on that part. I'm not like certain straight away that this immediately becomes an addition in that sort of deck. But maybe, and I thought as we were talking about this, it was good to talk about that Maleficent and that little loop. Next up, we've got Pluto, Friendly Pooch, revealed by our friends, Citizens of Lorcana. 1 cost, uninkable, 0/2, with Good Dog. Exert, you pay 1 less ink for the next character you play this turn. As a Mufasa fan, I'm so pleased to see this because Mufasa has such a slow early game because it needs to put down Doc turn 3. Some people are still playing Lantern, so that can be something, but even then, it's a slow first couple of turns. But here, don't get me wrong, the trade-off is that you are susceptible to 2 damage cards to take this away, whereas Doc, it's got to be the smash to offset you. But being able to put this down turn 1 and then use your turns 2 and 3 a little better to be able to respond to opposing boards or just set up a bit more yourself sounds good. And even if if you've got double Pluto in your opening hand, again, you wouldn't necessarily always keep both because it's uninkable, but maybe you do just because, especially if you know that if it's game 2 of a game where you know you're facing Steel or a Ruby deck that you know is running Teeth and Ambitions, maybe you hold both of them so you can put them down turn 1 or 2, and at least that opens up your turn 3 to do something more than just the passive play Doc. So I'm a big fan of this Pluto straight away, and we also have his Floodborn version, Determined Defender, 7 cost inkable, shift 5, quest for 2, and bodyguard, and guard dog. At the start of your turn, remove up to 3 damage from this character. So it's kind of cool that if you've got the Pluto down already, the Friendly Pooch, then you can exert to pay 1 less, assuming it's turn 5. To be fair, on turn 4, ink to 4, pay exert the Pluto, words are hard, for Good Dog, and then you're just paying 4 to put down this 7 cost Pluto. And hey, if you're also playing things like Doc and Lanterns and things like that, then it can become even cheaper. But yeah, bodyguard is strong. Having 8 willpower is really good. It's gonna be that's gonna be hard to remove. And yeah, if they are just chipping away at it piece by piece, then you're removing damage at the start of your turn and making it even harder. And again, more synergy with the Maleficent and Rapunzel that we just talked about. So yeah, I think there's a lot of hope for Pluto. Next up, we've got Rufus, Orphanage Cat. This one takes me back. The Rescue is such a cute film. 5 cost inkable, Dreamborn ally, 4/5 quest for 1, and a little too old to hunt mice. Oh, bruh. When this character is banished, you may put this card into your Inkwell face down and exerted. It's perfect for him. It's absolutely perfect. I don't think it sees play, but I love seeing Rufus, and that ability is perfect for him. Moving on to a card that I'm a big fan of art-wise and just themically, we've got Diablo, Loyal Familiar, Dreamborn ally, 1 cost inkable, 2/1, quest for 1, In Search of Aurora. Whenever you play a character named Maleficent, you may look at the top card of your deck, put it either on the top or the bottom of your deck. So when I did my card reveal of Bosses on a Roll, I talked about, if you're going to run things like Sorcerer's Hat and you want to be able to constantly know what your top card is, I don't think this is a shoo-in to go into that sort of deck. Maybe. If you've got enough of the other Maleficents, then I think there's a higher chance. Yeah, I think it's okay. I'm not convinced it makes its way into decks. It depends how good this... I think this new Maleficent is pretty interesting, and if it ends up being really good, then maybe. Plus, again, just inherently with Sorcerer's Hat, if you're running so many Maleficents, then even if you don't know the top card of your deck, you've got good odds to just guess. But yeah, Diablo, maybe he pops up, not sure, but love the art, loved seeing him in the game. Next up, we've got Miss Bianca for Amber. 2 cost inkable, 2/2, quest for 1, and Singer 4. And yes, this is the same as Sebastian, but this is a hero instead of an ally, and in time those characterizations are going to make a difference. And this card is called Miss Bianca. So if we get a Floodborn Miss Bianca, it could shift onto this, and you might be glad that you had something else with Singer 4. So yeah, I see no problem with this being the same as Sebastian, because we know that names of cards matter. And hey, if you've got loads of 4-cost songs that you really want to play on turn 3, then now you have 8 targets to get your Singer 4 character down on turn 2. So I don't understand. I've seen some real anger at this, but nonetheless, Singer 4, yeah, we can sing. And then along came Zeus. So yeah, love it. And Miss Bianca, again, I'm a big fan of the Rescuers, so love to see it. The boss is on a roll. I've done a lengthy reveal of this and discussing it all, so it would be silly to go through it all now. We've done Huey, Dewey, Louie in the past. We've got Baboom here, 2-cost inkable action. Deal 2 damage to chosen character or location. So yeah, I mean, it's a 1 more expensive, but inkable fire the cannons that can also hit locations. So yeah, I mean, just the fact that it's inkable maybe is enough to make some people want to prioritize it. And again, depending on how good locations are, maybe this 2 damage matters. Like maybe a location is good, ends up being good enough that we really need it gone on a certain turn, and maybe the inks we're playing, steel and whatever, can't do it with 1 attack, 1 challenge, but this is enough to finish the job. I'm reaching, I know I'm reaching, but again, I'm just highlighting the point that depending on the meta, anything can suddenly become relevant. Going straight on, we've got Joshua Sweet, the Doctor, 4-cost inkable, 1/5, quest for 2, and bodyguard. It's our only, no, it's not our only 4-cost bodyguard. We have Donald Duck. So I think in most cases you'd run a Donald because he's got the 2/5 stat line, and he gives himself evasive during your turn. Obviously this quest for 1 more, and Amber quite often can be inherently aggro, so maybe this sees play instead, just because the 1 lore is better. But yeah, bodyguarders are consistently quite good, so again, if the 2 lore matters enough, then maybe he comes into decks instead of Donald Duck. Next up, we've got Divebomb, 3-cost inkable ruby action. Banish one of your characters with Reckless to banish chosen character with less strength than that character. So Reckless is a ruby trait. There are emerald cards that give evasive to opposing characters. But yeah, it is the ruby thing. There's Felicia, who doesn't see a ton of play just because 1 willpower, she just never survives. But it's one of the cheapest 3/1s. And she does pop up occasionally. So worth mentioning. Also Gaston has Reckless, who was very common in Chapter 1 format. 2-cost inkable 4/2. Maui is the most played card that would see use with this, and there is T-Car as well, the first chapter 6-cost uninkable with 8/6, so that takes out everything except Goofy lives. But yeah, I mean, it's removal. We can't completely write it off. Like, there's the most diabolical scheme, which saw a bit of play chapter 2. Just because sometimes it's important to be able to remove characters that early in the game. Obviously, an advantage of that is you could sing it. But that, similarly, you had to -1 yourself and get rid of one of your characters. But it had to be a villain. And now the requirement is a Reckless character. So maybe, I doubt it, because I mean, if you're going to play Gastons, you would just play the Diabolical Scheme, although it is uninkable. So I don't know. Again, it's one of those, I'm not expecting it to jump straight into decks, but maybe down the line we need it to answer something. You think of stuff like Arthur and Doc and Ariel, which just removing them is just like such a good tempo play before they get to do what they want to do. So I'm not expecting it to dive bomb into deck straight away, but I think there's every chance that later on in format, if we need it to answer something, then who knows. Next up, we've got Airfoil, which is an emerald item, 2-cost inkable, and the I got to be going ability. Exert. If you've played 2 or more actions this turn, draw a card. So actions I haven't seen like any play, but worth mentioning a few things. There's Dr. Facilier's cards from chapter 1, which is the lantern of Emerald. You pay 1 exert to pay 1 less for the next action you play. There's cards like Tremaine, who recycle actions. There's the Mickey Mouse Artful Rogue, who, whenever you play an action, you pick an opposing character to not be able to quest next turn. There's the Genie, who, when he quests, you can play an action of 5 or less for free. None of these are cards that see play, but if we're talking about actions, then it's worth referencing them. There's also the newer, Rise of the Floodborn Pete. Whenever you play an action, this character gets +2 strength. So if we do reach it, and there's the Donald Duck as well. Whenever you play an action, this character gets +2 strength this turn. So it's not enough, but in the future, if actions end up being a lot better and we get a lot more support for them and they actually make a difference, then there's a chance that this ends up seeing play. Again, like we see Maurice's Workshop see play, which is if you play an item, you can pay to draw a card. Here, you don't have to pay any ink. You have to pay 2 actions as opposed to Maurice's Workshop, which is playing 1 item. But again, if we're able to get a lot of cards in our hand, whether that's with Amethyst or whatever, or Whole New World, and create board states where playing a lot of actions is feasible and worth it, then who knows, Airfoil maybe pops up. Next up, definitely one of my favourite cards that's been revealed so far, and not even necessarily just because I think it's really good, but just I love it. I love getting character items, like symbolic ones, famous ones, as items in Lorcana. Like we've had things like Peter Pan's dagger and a couple of others, and I just really enjoy them. I want a frame of like all the famous items in Lorcana. That's something I desire. And Captain Hook is one of the most legendary villains, and this art is incredible. The Rapier, and look at the island in the back, and absolutely stunning. Love this card. Definitely wants me a foil of this. But yeah, 3-cost uninkable item with 2 abilities. Get those scurvy brats during your turn. Whenever one of your characters banishes another character in a challenge, you may pay 1 ink to draw a card. Love it. This could be good. This could be very good. I'm a fan of this. And then let's have at it. Your character's named Captain Hook gain Challenger 1. So the 1-cost Captain Hook is now challenging for 4. There's of course the Floodborn version, which doesn't see play in Chapter 2 format, but it did Chapter 1 because he's shift for 3 and a 5-cost, so can sing those steel songs. Only had 2 strength. Now it's 3. There's also the Captain the Jolly Roger, who recycles fire the cannons. I don't see this coming back into play. There's also the Ruby Captain Hook, Ruthless Pirate. 7-cost uninkable 5/5 quest for 2 with Rush and You Coward. While this character is exerted, opposing characters with evasive gain reckless. I always really wanted this to be good, and it just really never was. But becomes a 6/5. I don't think it's going to be relevant, but just the first ability, get those scurvy brats. This is pretty good. I think this is okay. And again, Captain Hook, the 1-drop in Silver sees play. So yeah, like I think this could be cool. Again, suddenly now challenging for 4 could fix our maths for some early game things that become meta. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this card, both themically, and I think it has a chance. Next up, we've got Helga Sinclair, the first of 2 cards revealed over on the Inkwell, courtesy of Jonty and Bsquared, for friends of the channel. We loves to see some more villains. Vengeful Partner, 2-cost inkable, 2/1, quest for 1, and nothing personal. When this character is challenged and banished, banish the challenging character. That's okay. That's one of Kuzco's abilities, so that in itself is pretty cool. But let's immediately talk about the Floodborn. I don't even know how to say that right. Femme Fatale? I've butchered it, definitely. But shift 3 on a 5-cost, 4/4 stat line, quest for 2, and this changes everything. The guys at the Inkwell had some fun with promoting this. Whenever this character quests, you may deal 3 damage to chosen damaged character. So, just being a shift 3, cost 5, in itself is relevant because we've seen the strength of those characters to be able to sing. There are lots of very good 5-cost songs. Whole New World, Grab Your Swords, Let It Go, and I'm sure we'll get more and more. So that in itself is pretty cool. 4/4 is respectable, questing for 2. I like it. The ability. I mean, hey, if you're combined with something like Steel, where you're quite easily doing this ping damage, maybe you put down, you've got down the Robin Hood, with the one that has the ping ability, the 1/3. But again, just Steel's got loads of options for doing chip damage. So, yeah, this seems okay. Even if you're not playing with Steel and you're not doing chip damage and you're just an Emerald, like, aggro deck, then by the time you get this down, they've probably put some damage counters on themselves, challenging into your two-cost Flynn Rider and things like that. Just you're sitting there just questing, and yeah, they're just putting little damage counters on themselves, and suddenly in comes Helga, and she can just pop them off. So yeah, this is interesting. Whether it's good or not enough while being uninkable, yeah, I think it could be, you know, just because it's a Floodborn. So yeah, I expect we'll at least see some play testing for Helga. Next up, another beautiful art, one-cost inkable action song, It Calls Me. Draw a card. Shuffle up to 3 cards from your opponent's discard into your opponent's deck. So the first thing that jumps to mind is Porpsicles, putting them back, because that's one of the only... We don't have lots of cards that do, like, restoring from the discard. We've got things like Broom, which also shuffles back into the deck. But in terms of returning from the discard to your hand, it's basically just Porpsicle. But I imagine we're going to get more... My Yu-Gi-Oh brain wants to call it graveyard synergy, but discard pile synergy, where this will just get better and better. But even if you're not doing the shuffle, or well, to be fair, also worth mentioning, even if you're not upsetting a balance of getting rid of Porpsicles, you're just making their deck less consistent later on in the game, shuffling back in things that you like aren't going to help them to top. So there's that, but it's just another song in Amethyst that's a one-cost inkable. And again, I'm not hedging my bets completely, but when I talked about the bosses on a roll, I did think about, I think there's something to be said for a Sleepy's Flute Amethyst deck, just playing lots of songs and tilting our flute. And this is another one-cost song that replaces itself. So that in itself could be interesting if that deck does end up being a thing. But yeah, the Shuffle 3 currently isn't hugely relevant. It will be in niche situations, but as the sets go on, you've got to know we're going to get more cards that do cool things from the discard. So being able to stop that is going to be really important. Moving straight on, everything I said about Captain Hook's Rapier, the same. Love this. Obviously, Rapier, the Captain Hook, is a villain. It speaks to me a bit more, but just love this. 3-cost uninkable and 2 abilities. Forest's Gift. Exert, deal 1 damage to chosen damaged character or location, and a bit of a lark. Whenever a character of yours named Robin Hood quests, you may ready this item. Interesting. Obviously having to have already 1 damage is, you know, not great. But again, if you're playing with Steel, you've likely done that a lot. And again, we said just Emerald, even if you're not playing with Steel, they're just putting damage counters on themselves just from challenging into your high questing characters. So yeah, this is something that can synergize with that, and of course it does help that, you know, obviously in comparison to the one we mentioned before, the 2-cost uninkable Robin Hood, the 1/3, obviously he's going to do the ping, and then you can exert to deal damage and then quest your Robin. Well, no, you can't quest him if you've exerted for that ability. But if you're running other Robin Hoods and you can find a quester, I don't think there's enough Robin Hood support for this yet. I don't think this immediately sees play. I think the Captain Hook's Rapier, because of the drawing cards, that saves that and like gives that a chance. And because our Captain Hook, our 1-drop is really good. I don't think this sees play straight away, but with more Robin Hoods, it could. We'll see. Last couple of cards now, because we're getting to quite late in the video. We've got the Firebird, 4-cost inkable, Force of Destruction, Dreamborn villain, 6/2, quests for 1. It rages through the forest, wings spread wide with flame. Spring sings its ancient chorus, and green renews its claim. Love it. I hope I've read that right. I'm kind of reading at a distance. Having only 2 willpower, obviously, by design, probably just keeps this out of play. But who knows? Maybe in the future we get a character that says, discard a 4-cost or less character from your hand and deal damage equal to its strength. Am I cooking? You tell me. This bird's certainly cooking. Look at him. Beautiful art. Yeah, I don't have hopes for this now, but you never know with the right synergy in the future. I know I'm really reaching, but who knows? It could happen. Next up, we've got Maui, Winged Demigod. Obviously, we're going to get all the different Mauis for the things he can turn into. 3-cost uninkable with Reckless, so they can't quest. And In My Stomach, whenever one of your characters named Hey Hey quests, this character gets +1 lore and loses Reckless. And 5/2. Again, having 2 willpower feels bad. Being uninkable feels bad. I don't have high hopes for this, but I love the theming, working with Hey Hey. So, yeah, cool, fun. I don't think it does anything interesting straight away. Next up, we've got Thaddeus E. Klang. I have no idea what this is. I genuinely have no idea. But it's a villain, so yo. 5-cost inkable, 3/5, quest for 2, and Sharp Jaw. Whenever this character quests while at a location, you may deal 1 damage to chosen character. Yeah, if locations end up being good, then this probably finds its way in. Quests high, doing more passive ping. So yeah, who knows? It's inkable. Yeah, well, we need to see how good locations are, but one to keep an eye on. Right, last row. We're going to end on the broom here. Next up, we've got Orville, 2-cost inkable flying ace. Shout out to the rescuers. Love it, love it, love it. It's a 1/4. Yeah, maybe you want to play this instead of Piglet, or like chapter 1 it was Mr. Smee, chapter 2 it was Piglet. Obviously Piglet quests for 2, but you can now do it on your, you can now put, if you're just trying to set up Rapunzel, then you probably do go for this to open up your turn 3 to hopefully a better play. It depends on how the deck plays. Maybe it wants to put something else down on turn 2 and it would prefer to keep the Piglet, but you never know, it could make its way in as a replacement if people are still playing that slot specifically to set up Rapunzel. But yeah, 4 willpower, it makes him kind of interesting. Next up, a really interesting one, we got Mickey Mouse Trumpeter. 4-cost uninkable, Boogle Call. Exerts, pay 2, play a character for free. Yes, it's bait. This dies to a saving YouTube comment. This would fall on its hat. But it's fun, all right? It's fun. It's going to be cool in draft and sealed. And hey, when we get characters like, again, put this with Aurora. Who knows? I mean, still dies to grab your swords. But who knows? If we can find a way to protect him, then think of the possibilities. Don't get me wrong. If you do protect him on your turn 5, okay, so now you've protected him. Turn 5, we can pay 2. We ink to 5, we pay 2. We play a character for free. And now we have 3 ink to do something else. If you're then doing something else, then that's you playing out 2 cards. If you're playing with Amethyst and you're drawing a lot, it doesn't matter. It's fun. I don't expect it to see a ton of play until we get some suitable protection for our boy Mickey. But cool card. It's a legendary. I'm nearly convinced it will be an enchanted. So yeah, I'd love to see it. Next up, we got Ariel, 3-cost inkable, adventurous collector. Princess worth mentioning. Evasive and inspiring voice. Whenever you play a song, chosen character of yours gains evasive until the start of your next turn. Yeah, it's all right. Obviously, there are probably better 3-cost evasive stuff that you would play. The mini comes to mind for a start. Or you just play an answer to evasive, like Fidget, or we've now had the Iago revealed in Amethyst. Giving evasive to our characters is cool, and it is to the start of our next turn, which is cool. Yeah, it's all right. I cannot wait to see the Floodborn Ariel. And I really hope it's not in Amber, because that scares me a little bit, having the 3-cost Ariel be that good. And then having a Floodborn that's hopefully will be good as well. But yeah, it's another target for future Floodborn Ariel, and the abilities, it's okay. It's okay enough that if the Floodborn is good, then yeah, it could be cool. And finally, this is as far as we'll go for today. You have to wait till next time for the rest of the cards. We've got Magic Broom, Dancing Duster, 6-cost uninkable. 3/3, quest for 1, and energetic cleaning. When you play this character, if you have a sorcerer character in play, exert an opposing character. The chosen character doesn't ready at the start of their next turn. So, even if we assume that we have Mickey Wayward Sorcerer on the field, who lets us play Brooms 1 cheaper, this is still expensive in my opinion, especially being uninkable. The ability is good, exerting strong, whether it's because we want to then immediately challenge something or just to slow them down. Elsa, obviously, the deep freeze, it targets 2, but just the fact that they can't ready at the start of the next turn is cool. I'm not blown away by this, but I am glad to see more Brooms. And who knows, if there is something to be said for Sorcerer's Tower and Brooms end up being okay. So far, I've not seen enough yet to be convinced, but I have hopes for the future. Maybe we can lower this cost even more. I mean, obviously, if you've got multiple Wayward Sorcerers out, then that helps. But maybe, like, if we could get something like really cheap, 1 or 2 costs that lowers cost of Brooms as well. Maybe. I think this is a tad too expensive, but I'm just glad to see more Broom synergy. And that's it for the latest bunch of card reveals. Definitely overrun the video, but there's loads more, but we'll do these. We'll do the next set next time. But yeah, some really interesting cards. I'm really excited for the next set. I really am. I can't wait to get brewing with some new decks. And I think the community is ready for a new format as well. But yeah, really excited. What's the card that we looked at today that you're the most excited for? Which is your favorite art? Is there a card that I've underplayed that you think is better than again, this is all first impressions. Everything I say could change, and like, again, just from seeing the rest of the reviews will change. But yeah, like, what's your favorite card from this set? What's the most overrated, underrated, best art? Let me know down in the comments. But that's it from me for now. If you're brand new to the channel, please do subscribe for all things Lorcana. Hit the like button to show your support, and we'll see you soon.